Now, if you're booked on any of the following flights, ensure you're at the airport very early tomorrow morning. Those flying to Juba on KQ 350, your flight is at 7:40 a.m. Those flying to Lusaka or Harare on KQ 702, your flight is at 8 a.m. tomorrow. If you're flying to Amsterdam on KQ 116, G flight is at 8:15 a.m. To Kinshasa on KQ 554, flight is at 8:25 a.m. And to Antananarivo on KQ 756, flight is at 8:35 a.m. Now, this are shown in our ticker during this live newscast. Well, now in studio with me to expound further and talk about these issues and others is Secretary Communication and State House spokesman Manoah Esipisu. Thank you very much, sir, for making time this evening.
Thank you, John.
All right, just to start from where the president left this evening. This was not an act of terror. It was just a normal fire.
Yes, indeed. At this point, we can talk in terms of preliminary investigations. Obviously, everyone has been asking what caused this, especially if you consider that this comes on the 15th anniversary of the 1998 bombings of the U.S. embassies here in Nairobi and in Dar es Salaam. So it was important early on to ascertain that there was no element of terror. And our investigators have been on ground, as well as investigators from foreign countries, and both confirm that, in fact,
so the assumption earlier on then was that there could have been some element of terror.
Nothing was being left to chance.
All right, let's talk about how we've handled this crisis. On Wednesday morning, the airport goes on flames, and it takes about 3 to 6 hours to contain that fire. Just how prepared are we as a country to handle such disasters?
I think this particular case was very difficult, partly because of the architectural design of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. This airport was built in 1974. It's a lot of brick and mortar, if you like, and access to some areas was very, very difficult initially. So whereas the firefighters did, I think, everything they could to get to the fire, they just couldn't get to the epicenter of that fire until a couple of hours had gone. So the initial response, you'd say, for instance, they began off with your normal firefighting type stuff, which is use the extinguishers, and then
I saw buckets also.
Well, yes. But that's because the extinguishers proved to be too little, and they needed to get the engines on site. The engines did come on site, and they did call on reinforcements, if you like, from the rest of the city. The Nairobi City Council was there, and Air Force was there, the National Youth Service was there. However, getting to the epicenter of the fire was very difficult because of the architectural design of this airport.
From what you said, Mr. Esipisu, was it satisfying, the way we handled this particular incident, given the architectural design, given the challenges?
I think we did well. I think we could have done better. There is always room to do better. But I think under the circumstances, the fire was contained to the arrivals lounge, which was heavily damaged. The Terminal 1 was also significantly damaged, but Terminal 2 and Terminal 3 were pretty much salvaged. So you would say that in terms of containing the fire, certainly our people did very well.
Let's talk about government communication then. Right now, this government is big on Twitter. We've seen you and the office on Twitter and many other offices giving information during this fire. And people have argued during crisis, it's important to have communication coming from a single source so that we know what we are following, what's happening. We've seen several communications from different tweet handles, from very many other sources. Is that the right way to go?
I think crisis communications 101 says people need information in terms of crisis, so they know what to do, they know what to anticipate, they know how to move forward. That information needs to be consistent, it needs to be clear, it needs to be coherent. And that's the message we're sending out. If there is no coherence in the message you're receiving, you are unlikely to make the right decisions you need to be making. So this government believes that you need to have those messages coming from one source, in order that there is that coherence. But this doesn't mean that other sources are incapable of delivering the message. You are meeting all types of people. Let's say in this particular case, engineer Kamau and his team from infrastructure, from security services, have been at the airport. We meet with them. We are in that meeting. We are where they are discussing the issues, and we are able to relay that information as soon as we can.
So how should we do it then? Because that's the question. Given with the benefit of what has happened in this crisis and lessons learned, how do we foresee in the next future, in future, how you'll communicate in terms of crisis?
I think it's still the same way. We need information getting out quickly, information getting out that is accurate, information getting out that has integrity. That information needs to come as quickly as possible from credible sources. We do not believe that everyone needs to throw in their 10 pence worth. If there is one credible source, that should be fine.
All right. I must ask you though, now we have, in this crisis also, the office of the government spokesman being held previously by Manoah Esipisu has been abolished, and the communication that we have is that now we are getting all information from yourself and from your office. The question is, how, going forward, what is going to be your style of communication? How do you expect you to give us information? What do you expect that you'll be doing differently?
I think part of that you just have to wait and see how it evolves. I think that I believe in saying something when we have something to say. When we have nothing, we won't say anything. We think that information coming out of the presidency and coming out of this government must be consistent. It must be coherent. And we don't want to see one arm of government saying one thing and the other arm of government saying something different. That won't happen when I am where I am.
It will be a controlled.
We do believe that by the time you say something, government already agrees with what you're saying. There shouldn't be contradictory messages from the same government. I think this administration believes in its message carrying the level of integrity that is believable.
All right. We wish you luck. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Manoah Esipisu, the Secretary of Communication and State House and Government spokesman, as you like. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you.